And we start in Sandton because organised business, communities, government and labour will today convene in Johannesburg for the 29th annual summit on the National Economic Development Labour Council, otherwise known as Nedlac. This gathering comes amid sluggish economic growth and skyrocketing unemployment in the country. Part of our team watching developments is SABC News reporter Nosipho, who joins us now live from Sandton. And Nosipho, as you mentioned at the top of the hour, we're expecting the Deputy President there today.
That is true, Ayanda. We are expecting the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, to address this gathering of delegates, including business leaders, union leaders, as well as ministers in the government here. But as you mentioned, this gathering does come on the backdrop of that surge in unemployment numbers to 33.5% in the second quarter of this year. Now, that is obviously concerning, and I am joined here with me by the union Cosatu's leader, Matthew Parks, just to talk to me about that and give us an understanding of where the union stands on that matter. Matthew, a very good morning and welcome to the show.
Sure, good morning. Thanks for having us.
Now, Matthew, as I mentioned, this summit coming on the backdrop of those high unemployment numbers. Talk to us as Cosatu. What is your feeling?
Yeah. Look, unemployment is our number one crisis. It's a ticking time bomb. You can't sustain a society where 4 out of 10 South Africans, 6 out of 10 young people can't find work. If we can create jobs, especially decent paying jobs, all of our other socioeconomic issues will begin to be addressed. So a lot of our engagement at Nedlac over the past many years, have always been about resolving the economic blockages, fixing the economy, creating jobs. So our interventions at Eskom to give a debt relief, that is about ensuring Eskom can be fully operational because all workplaces need reliable and efficient electricity available for them. There's been lots of work done to rebuild Transnet because that's key to mining, to manufacturing, to agricultural jobs. We've had good engagement around Metro Rail because that's key to getting about 10 million workers in our cities to work on time, boosting the urban economy. We've had a lot of work done around Unemployment Insurance Fund during COVID, where we released 65 billion rand to help 5.7 million workers. So everything we're trying to resolve has got to be always about unemployment because everything else won't be sustainable if you don't have people working, taking care of their families, contributing to the fiscus, building the economy, creating opportunity. So even our engagements, for example, around trade, we managed to intervene around AGOA to make sure South Africa remains a partner. That is about making sure that motor manufacturing, agricultural, mining exports to North America can be secure because, again, jobs is linked to it. So for us as the Trading Federation, it's about jobs first and jobs everything else.
And speaking of, jobs, but we're also expecting that report, 30 years into democracy. Talk to us about the expectations here today.
So we had this 30-year review, obviously because we're 30 years as a democratic state, but also we have a new administration, and more so that many new political parties are part of that administration, so they don't have a understanding per se about how does Nedlac work, how is Nedlac a useful partner where business and labour come together to work with government to resolve our common challenges, to look at positive solutions to our many issues. So it's about saying this is what Nedlac can offer to the state to resolve our many economic, social challenges. And show that, for example, during COVID, we helped roll out a huge occupational health and safety, workplace health and safety campaign. We helped coordinate a vaccination campaign, which was quite successful. So there are many opportunities. More recently, we had the national minimum wage, where there's a social compact between business, government and labour, about raising the wage of 6 million workers. We now have the two-part pension reforms, which has come into effect now. And so those always show you the benefits of engagement dialogue between government, business and labour, addressing common issues and seeing what are the creative solutions which are win-win. So we want to also say to the new GNU, here's a reliable strategic ally, the Country Social Dialogue Forum, which can help government achieve its objectives, but also help us as business, as labour, to hold government accountable and also to push them better to address workers' concerns.
And now, Matthew, one of the topical issues as well recently, the two-part system coming into play this month, the criticism around it from unions, but also as we see that surge in people withdrawing their pension funds. As Cosatu, what are your reflections in that context?
So we're very happy as Cosatu. This has been a campaign of Cosatu since COVID for 4 years to give workers a choice. It's not going to resolve all of our socio-economic issues. It's simply a pension reform. To give workers a choice to resigning from their job and cash out all the pension funds. To say to workers, you're highly indebted, here's an option where you can cash out 30,000 rand today. And going forward, you have access to a third of your future savings. We avoid resignations, we give workers immediate leave to help pay off their debts. We also help boost savings for the longer term. And this is the first step of a journey of saying pension funds should be geared to support workers during their career and in their retirement. But the status quo is a crisis where workers cash out their debt every few years to pay off, cash out the pension funds to settle debt. But at the end of their career, they've got no savings left, and hence 94% of South Africans retire in poverty. We want to resolve that, but also want to keep workers employed, because you have an economy of a 42% unemployment rate. Anybody who resigns from the job will struggle to find another job. So it's a first step. We made already proposals to government on the next round of reforms. Could we look at lowering the tax rate on low-income workers? Could we give workers greater relief to the existing savings? Could it be used for education loans, and also to ensure workers retain access to all of the savings? But we don't mind the criticism and insults. There are always armchair critics in any part of life. Every time we've introduced something, major change, like the minimum wage, we were cursed at by our critics. When we introduced the vaccination campaign, people insulted us. Today, people claim those victories. And so at times, leadership requires to take the punches and insults, but knowing that you're doing something which is going to benefit workers, it's going to benefit society at large. But I think for us, we're excited, and we're now keen to move on to the next round. But workers are voting with their feet. Thousands of people are applying for this relief from the pension funds. There are glitches, and it's going to be expected. But overall, we already see money flowing out to workers, and that for us is a positive thing. Now for us is the next step of the reforms.
All right, thank you so much, Matthew. That was Matthew Cosatu's parliamentary leader, Matthew Parks, just giving us or talking us through the expectations today as we come to that 30-year review of democracy here in South Africa, and the union's perspective there on the two-part system, which did come into force at the beginning of this month. We saw those surge in withdrawals, but the union happy that this has come into force, something that they had been calling for the implementation of. Oyanda, back to you in studio.
All right, no overstating the importance of this gathering, especially when you consider how tenuous sometimes the relationship between Labour and government has been. Nosipho, Radebe, live to us there from Sandton. Thanks very much indeed. Those are live visuals from inside one of those meeting rooms, so to speak, in Sandton, where we expect a lot of these discussions to get underway. Of course, South Africa looking to come out of the economic doldrums, as it were. The state has, for quite some time, always spoken about some kind of social compact, which in many ways involves groups and organizations that are represented in this particular gathering. And that's why it goes without saying, really, we'll be watching the story very closely throughout the course of the day.